Om Sadashivasamārambhām Shankarācārya-madhyamām Asmadācārya-paryantām Vande Guru-parampārām. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahavirya Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning. So we are on chapter 3, Mandukya Karika, Karika number 24. So we will chant that. Please unmute yourself. Neha naneti chamnyat
नेह नान्येति चान्यात्
Indro mayabhirityapi
इन्द्रो मायाभिरित्यपि
Ajayamano bahuda
अजायमानो बहुधा
Jaya jayate tu saha
मायया जायते तु सः
Saha, that which is, now we are talking about that Atma, Saha, that Atma, tu jayate, is indeed born. How? Mayaya, as a mithya, apparently it is born. And Amnayat, so the word Amnaya is referring to the Veda. Amnaya, you will find the word Amnaya used very frequently. It refers to Veda. So Amnayat Shruti Vakyams, the statements of the Veda. And this is revealed in the Veda. So Satu Jayate Maya, the fact that Atma is apparently born, but not really born, Amnayat, is revealed in the statements of the Veda. Like which statement? Neha Naneti. So this is from which Upanishad? Can you remember? Neha Naneti Kinchana. We have done the Upanishad. Katha Upanishad, chapter 2. So Neha Naneti Kanchana. There is no plurality at all. In this place, in this Atma, Nana, na Nana iti. There is no multiplicity, there is no duality at all. And Indra Maya Bihi iti api. So there are two statements. One is Neha Naneti, that is from Katha Upanishad, where it is said that in this Atma, there is no duality at all. And the other one is from an Upanishad we have not done, Brahadanyaka Upanishad, where it says Indra Maya Bihi Ityapi. That Ishvara, that Indra, is seen as many because of Maya only. And yet, Ajayamanaha, remaining unborn, Bahuda, it is apparently born as many. This is a third statement coming from Purusha Sukta. So there are three statements. Nehananeti from Katha Upanishad, Indra Maya Bihi from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Ajayamanaha Bahuda, this is from Purusha Sukta. So basically he is saying that there is no plurality at all. There is only Maya, there is only Atma. What you see is because of Maya alone. When you see plurality, you are seeing the names and forms because of Maya alone. And Shankara in his Bhashyam gives an argument. He says, supposing this creation is Satyam, supposing the creation is real creation, not Mithya creation, which means what? That the Satyam Brahma. And what is the meaning of Satyam? It's important to remember. When we say Satyam Brahma, what does it mean?
Vikale apitishta.
Vikale apitishta. That Brahman which undergoes no change throughout the three time frames. So that Satyam Brahman And Shankara says, supposing this Satyam Brahman has really undergone a change to produce a Satyam Jagat, to produce another real world. So, supposing that real Brahman has really undergone some change and it produces a real world, which means that both Brahman and the world belong to the same order of reality. Okay. So this is called Brahma Parinami Vada. Brahman actually converting to become something else. Then Shankara says, if that happens, then since Brahman is Satyam and since it is undergoing a change, then the world, the dualistic world, is also Satyam. So he says, in that case, the Shruti Vakyams, which Vakyams which we talked about earlier, all those three Vakyams which reveal that there is only one Brahman. The absence of Dvaitam is revealed by those Vakyams. So he says, but had the real Brahman really undergone a change to become a real world, then the world of plurality that is there, dualistic world, would also be real, also be Satyam. And in that case, Shruti would not have any statements talking about the absence of that, of Dvaitam. Okay. And that's where he quotes this Nehananasti Kinchana Kathopanishad. In it, and the Dvaita Bhava, he says, but these statements are for the negation of duality. So we must remember that duality, absence of duality, does not mean that we don't experience duality. The duality, multiplicity of the world, we can experience. Because we can experience, they are useful to us, they have utility. And because they are useful to us, we transact in them also. Therefore, transactability is there, utility is there, and you can experience them also. In spite of these three things, in spite of the fact that I'm able to experience duality, I'm able to transact in duality, and therefore that duality is useful to me. In spite of that, Shruti says, remember that this Dvaitam does not have a real existence. So it's important to remember that Shruti is not negating the transactional value or the utility value of duality. It says, fine, this world has got duality, it has got experienceability, it's got utility, you can transact in the world. That we don't negate at all. What we negate is the existence of that world as Satya. Therefore, and Shankara says, therefore, this creation has been superimposed by Shruti. It's a adhyasa, it's superimposition. And what is the purpose? The anatma superimposition is to enable us to understand that when the superimposition is removed, the real substratum which is there, that is the Atma. So the entire revelation of Anatma, this world, in Shruti has only one purpose. It is to prove that the world is mithya only. Right? So the Srishti is imaginary. You have to remember that whatever statements the Upanishad makes about the presence of Srishti, about the Srishti happening, about the Srishti dissolving, all this is only for proving that that Srishti is actually mithya. And a slight grammar point. If you look at the word, that statement, neha naneti kinchana, it is actually in the present tense. The statement in English is that there is no duality at all. There is no plurality at all. Shruti did not say, does not say that there was no plurality before creation. It's a very, important distinction. If Shruti said that there was no plurality before creation, then you can think of that Brahma Parinami Vada. Because earlier on, Brahman was one, there was no duality, but Brahman underwent a change to become this multiple world, and therefore now there is duality. But that is not what the statement is saying. It says there is no duality. What is conveyed? You are experiencing this duality today, you are transacting in that duality, but in the fact is that there is no duality at all. The perceived multiplicity is not satyam, is not absolute reality. It's like in the rope snake example, right? When I say there is no snake at all, what I mean is that what I am seeing as a snake is not the snake. It is only my ignorance of the nature of the rope which has manifested in the form of a snake. It's a very important statement. There is no snake at all means what? There is no snake. What I see as a snake is only my ignorance of the nature of the rope, because of which I am seeing a snake there. Similarly, when I say that I am transacting in Dvaitam, it is nothing but the manifestation of my ignorance of Advaitam, my real nature. Okay. Now Shankara says, take the second statement, Indro Maya Bihi, like Ishvara created the universe using Maya Shakti. Right? But the fact is that the usage of the word Maya in the statement reveals what? Maya means dependent reality. So the very fact that the statement is saying that Ishvara created the world using Maya, it means that the world is a dependent reality. It is mithya only. Okay. Now in his Bhashyam, Shankara introduces a Purva Pakshi, a person who objects. So he says Maya is defined in the Sanskrit dictionary as Prajna. Now Prajna has two meanings. One is Vritti Jnanam, that is the thought which gives knowledge, and one is Swarupa Jnanam, which is another name for your own consciousness itself. So Prajna has two meanings, right? And what is the meaning which should be taken in terms of the interpretational rules for Shruti? You have to take that meaning which will not contradict any other Shruti statements. So in the vision of the word of the Upanishad, the word Maya refers to what? That which is negatable through knowledge. Right? And therefore, you cannot take Swarupa Jnanam, the consciousness principle, as the meaning of Maya, because consciousness principle cannot be negated. And that which is negatable by any mean is not Satyam. Right? So remember that after Jnanam, Maya is negated. Therefore, the answer to the objection is yes. Maya can be translated as Vritti Jnanam or Swarupa Jnanam, but in the context, we have to take the meaning as Vritti Jnanam and not Swarupa Jnanam, because in the context, it means that Maya is negatable. And if you take Maya as Swarupa Jnanam, that will not fit the context, because consciousness, Swarupa Jnanam, is the only thing which cannot be negated by Jnana. And therefore, Vritti Jnanam being a product of Maya. Remember, Vritti Jnanam is what? The knowledge produced by a thought. The thought lies where? In the mind. The mind is what? RM. And RM is what? Again, because of avidya only, because of ignorance only. Therefore, the translation of Maya should be Mithya. Okay. Now, Shankara also comments on the third Shruti Vakyam, which I talked about, one from Purusha Suktam, which says Ajayamano Bahuda Vijayate. Ajayamana, without creating, Bahuda Vijayate, many are created. So Ishvara seemingly creates many without actually creating. And therefore he says, when you put them together, creates but doesn't actually create, it has to be taken as seemingly creates, which can be taken as creates a lower level of reality, which we call mithya. So the contextual meaning is emphasized by the word Maya, that the universe is created, yes, but only figuratively, not really. So figuratively, really meaning one is Satyam, one is Mithya. So to make it clear, better to use the Sanskrit words. The world is Mithya, not Satyam. Mithya object doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It exists, you can see it, you can transact with it. The only thing, it doesn't have the same level of reality as you, the Atma. Okay. All right. And in this commentary, Shankara adds a note. He says that Shruti clearly says that the understanding of Advaita has got prayojanam. It has got a fruit. What is that fruit? So he quotes from the Isha Upanishad a particular mantra which says that the one who has understood this non-duality of the Atma with the aid of Shastram. Right? So he says ekatvam anupasyataha. Who understands this ekatvam, this non-duality, anupasyataha, with the aid of Shastra he understands. For him he says, where is moha, where is delusion, where is shoka, where is sorrow? And if you remember the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also said the same thing. Yad nyatva na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava. So not only is there benefit in, is there no benefit in Dvaitam, Dvaitam creates samsara. And that also again we saw in Kathopanishad, where it said that the person who sees duality in Atma, mrityosa mrityum apnoti, he goes from death to death. So he, again, Shankara emphasizes the creation is there, but it is mithya creation. And since it is mithya creation, you cannot really say that Brahman creates. Brahman seemingly creates. Brahman is Satyam. He seemingly creates a mithya creation which is dependent upon himself. Okay. Now we look at the 25th Karika. We'll chant. Sambhuterapavadascha
सम्भूतेरपवादश्च
Sambhuterapavadascha
सम्भूतेरपवादश्च
Sambhavah pratishidyate
Sambhava
सम्भव
सम्भवति
प्रतिष्ठते
प्रसिद्ध्यते
Onvenam janayediti
कोन्वेनं जनयति
निर्वेणं जनयति
Karanam pratishidyate.
कारणं
करणं
विद्यते
प्रतिष्ठते.
So all, very, very technical interpretations. If you see the dictionary, you will not be able to understand because they will completely different meanings. All the interpretations are particularly correlated to Shruti from mantras from some here and there. And therefore, without the Bhashyam, we would find it very difficult to make sense of this. So, Sambhuter apavadacha. Sambhutehe apavadat cha. The breakup is Sambhutehe apavadat cha. It's a quotation from, it refers to a quotation from Isha Upanishad, which you have not done. So there, the Upanishad criticizes the Hiranyagarbha Upasana. And he criticizes very strongly. He says, Andaha andham tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate. That is the criticism. So I'll explain. Ye sambhutim upasate. The one who does upasana for sambhuti. The sambhuti is that from which all have been born. So what can it be? Ye sambhutim upasate. The one who worships sambhutim. That entity from which the entire world is born?
Maya.
Well, here it is taken as, because it is Hiranyagarbha Upasana, it is taken as Hiranyagarbha. Sambhuti is Hiranyagarbha here. So he says, Ye Sambhutim Upasate, that person who does Upasana for Hiranyagarbha, what happens to him? Andham Tamaha Pravishanti. He enters the Andham Tamaha Pravishanti. He enters Andham Tamaha is dark worlds. He enters all the dark worlds. This is why we don't do Ishavasa initially, because after we have done a few Upanishads, then only it makes sense. So everywhere else, you will find that Hiranyagarbha Upasana is worshipped, is glorified. But here he says that the one who worships Hiranyagarbha, he enters the dark worlds. So here what is Gaudapada saying? Why is he quoting that? He is saying that the fact that Hiranyagarbha is being criticized. How criticized? If you worship him, you will go to the dark worlds. So that criticism, he says, is a negation of Hiranyagarbha. Which means if you are negating Hiranyagarbha, obviously you are negating his creation also. His creation is the entire world. Therefore, Gaudapada here is saying that this criticism in the Ishavasa Upanishad is actually a negation of the whole world. Why should Shruti negate the world? Because it is mithya. Therefore, Shruti is saying don't focus on mithya jagat, but focus on satyam only. And therefore, he says sambhutehe apavada. Apavada means negation. Sambhutehe is Hiranyagarbha. So Sambhutehe apavadacha, this negation of Hiranyagarbha, by that negation, what happens? Sambhavaha pratishidyate. Sambhavaha is that which comes out of Sambhuti. So Sambhava means the entire Jagat, the entire creation. Pratishidyate is also negated. So very nice little statement. By criticizing Hiranyagarbha Upasana in that Ishavasya, the Shruti is saying that the entire Jagat is negated. There is no such thing as a Jagat itself. Okay, as I said, all these are contextual meanings. The dictionary, if you look at, they'll be completely different. Right? Okay. And Shankara, of course, adds, saying that if Hiranyagarbha's origination was real, supposing Hiranyagarbha created. Oh, by the way, Hiranyagarbha is Mithya or Satyam?
Mithya. Everything is
Mithya.
Mithya, but
Hiranyagarbha is Mithya. Why? Why is Hiranyagarbha Mithya?
because there is only
Also
Ekavastu
born.
Satyam, which is Brahman.
There's only one Brahman. Hiranyagarbha is what? The reflection of that Brahman in the subtle body of the universe. Right? If you remember Tattva Bodha. Subtle universe, subtle body of the universe, plus consciousness is Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, it is Mithya only. So that's what Shankara says in his commentary, that if Hiranyagarbha was Satyam, then his creation would be Satyam. But Hiranyagarbha himself is Mithya. Therefore, the creation also is Mithya. And Shankara says that supposing Hiranyagarbha was Satyam and the creation was Satyam, then definitely he says there would have been no criticism of Hiranyagarbha in the Shruti. There would have been no negation of Hiranyagarbha in the Shruti, because what is Satyam can never be negated. Therefore, we must look at the flow of the argument. First, Hiranyagarbha is firstborn, and Hiranyagarbha is negated, criticized and negated. Therefore, Hiranyagarbha is Mithya. And the entire universe born from Mithya Hiranyagarbha has to be Mithya only. Therefore, Brahman is not a Karanam at all. Because if the universe is Mithya, there is no karyam, no product at all. If there is no product at all, where is the question of a producer being there? Since there is no karyam, there is no karanam also. So that is the first mantra. Then the next part of the mantra is konvenam janayedati. Okay. That's the next another mantra. This mantra is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So you can break it up into kaha nu janayet enam. Okay. Kaha means who, nu indeed, enam janayet. Who indeed can be the cause of the birth of, we can talk about it being the mithya jivatma, the mithya world. So indeed, who can be the cause of the birth of this mithya jivatma? Indirectly saying that there is nobody who is the cause of the birth of this mithya jivatma or mithya jagat. And since there is no product at all, since nobody is the cause, there can be no product. And because of that, karanam pratishidyate. The karanam is therefore negated. Right? The karanam means what? Brahma being a karanam or Hiranyagarbha being a karanam, a real karanam. Whenever you say negated, remember we're talking about the Satyam part of it. So Lord Brahmaji as Satyam is negated. There is no real karanam at all, and therefore there is no real karyam also. Karanam is mithya, karyam is also mithya. And Shankara adds in his commentary that this Chidhabhasa, the reflected consciousness, who appears to have been created because of Maya, what happens to that RC when the RM projected by the avidya, the RM projected by avidya appears as Chidabhasa, the RC. When that RC goes away, so when the RM is negated, what happens? The reflection goes away. When the RC goes away and the RM is not there, what remains? Only the original consciousness will remain. And therefore, Shankara makes a nice statement here that when through jnanam you have negated the jagat, you will find that the reflected consciousness, which is the jiva, has gone. What will remain behind at the time of Videha Mukti? Only OC will remain. And therefore, he says, Konmenam Janayet. Who can create this jiva? Nobody can create the jiva. The Ajnani jiva is never created. Why? Because a mithya. The Jnani Jiva is Brahman and therefore cannot be created. It is like the snake, rope snake we are coming back to. It is like the snake which is seen by me because of my lack of the knowledge of the nature of the rope. But once the torch has come into my hands and I have understood that that is a rope, then even when the torch goes off, that snake will not be seen again. In the same way, once you have understood this universe as Mithya and Brahman yourself as Satyam, then the idea of Brahman as a cause of the world is negated. Karanam pratishidyate. Which means on the destruction of Mithya through Jnanam, you will find that there is no creation. Since there is no creation, you will find that there is no creator either. That is the intent of the scripture. Okay. Now remember here, so we have talked about different types of vadas, right? We have talked about Satkarya Vada. We have talked about Asatkarya Vada. What are they? Do you remember? They belong to two major schools of philosophy, Sankhya and Nyaya. What is Satkarya Vada? Very basic fundamental ideas which we must know. What is Satkarya Vada?
That Shunyavada, I think it's a repetitive, continuous.
No. Sat means, Satkaryavada means this Jagat was born from something which existed before.
Yeah, that's.
Sat is existence. So this universe was existing before it was born. That's Satkaryavada. Asatkaryavada says this universe was not existing before it was born. The entire creation is something new coming from a non-existent Karanam. While Satkaryavada says that the Karanam was existing first and the universe which is Karyam is now there. Asatkaryavada says that Karanam was not existing first and the universe is now existing. Now here, in this particular Karika, there is a third Vada we get introduced. This is called Ajati Vada. Ajati Vada is very simple. The universe was never born. Satkaryavada says universe was born from an existing cause. Asatkaryavada says universe was born from a non-existing cause. Gaudapada says, why say all those things? The universe was never born. Where is the universe at all? So the creation concept in Mandukya Upanishad is Ajativada, that there is no such thing as the universe. And when we talk about this, we should remember the use of two words, Nashaha and Badaha. So Nashaha means destruction, Badaha means negation, right? Badaha means, okay, let's take Nashaha first. Nashaha means destruction of something which exists. Now we know earlier also we said that matter, Maya, can never be destroyed. And therefore, when we say that Jagat is destroyed, you are only saying that this Jagat, which was manifest in a visible state, has now been converted into unmanifest state by pralayam. So Nashaha is a temporary change of state. The manifest state has been converted into the unmanifest state, which means what? The potential for that unmanifest state to be converted back to the manifest state remains. So Nashaha means Karyam, the product, goes back to Karana Avastha, the cause. The gold bangle goes back to the gold through melting. But the potential for that gold lump to again become bangle exists. So this temporary conversion of avasthas, Vyakta Avastha to Avyakta Avastha, Avyakta Avastha to Vyakta Avastha, this is meant by the term Nasha. Now, Badaha is completely different. Badaha means the destruction of the substantiality of something through jnana. So when I know that there is no such thing as a bangle, but that its substance is gold, what have I done? Through knowledge, the idea that the bangle is a substance has been destroyed. I've understood that whether it be gold or whether it be bangle, the substance is only gold. Once this has happened, there is no possibility of reconversion from Karanam to Karyam or vice versa. Since the destruction is not temporary, it is total. How? Through knowledge, by knowing that bangle is simply not there at all. That is the difference between Nashaha and Badaha. So they say, they summarize very nicely in Sanskrit. Vartamana Kala Matra Nishedaha is Nashaha. The destruction only during the present is Nashaha. Trikale Nishedaha Badaha. Destruction in all the three time frames, which is possible only through knowledge. That is called Badaha. Right? And Shankara, in support of this statement of his, he quotes Nayam Kutaschina Bhabuvaha Kaschita. You should be remembering all this. This we saw in Katha Upanishad. Nayam Kutaschinaha. Na ayam Kutaschinaha. This Atma is never born from anything. Na Babhuva Kaschita. Nothing will ever come out of the Atma. This is the Badaha part of it. Having known that the Jagat is Mithya, what is your vision of Jagat? Your vision of Jagat is nothing. Therefore, when you look at the Jagat, when you look at the universe, through your sense organs, you are seeing multiplicity. You are experiencing that multiplicity. You are transacting that multiplicity. But at the back of your mind, you know that this is Atma. This is neither the Karanam or the Karyam. This is I, myself alone. Okay. Now, we look at the next Karika. Karika number 26. We will chant. Sa esha neti netiti
स एष
Shaneti
नेति
neti
vyakhyatam ninhute yataha
vyakhyātam
ते यतः
niyataha.
I heard somebody say ninhute. It is not ninhute, it is ninhute. Why?
Rule like
There is a
Brahman.
there is a rule like Brahma, right? Because the ha, there is a half ha and there is a na, half na. So that what is after ha is pronounced first. Like you write Brahma, right? You write the ha and then you write the ma. But in pronunciation, you put the M first. So Brahma, similarly here it is ninhute. So Vyakhyatam ninhute yataha
Vyakhyātam ninhute yataha
Sarvam Grahya Bhavena
sarvam
सर्वं
grahyam
ग्राह्यभावेन
Hetunajam Prakashate.
hetuna jam
हेतुनाजं
prakashate.
प्रकाशते
So here, Hetu means the cause. Cause means cause of everything, which means Atma. So Hetuna Agrahya Bhavena. Agrahya means you cannot grasp. So Hetuna Agrahya Bhavena, because of the fact that the Atma cannot be grasped. Then you have to supply Shruti Ninhute. Ninhute means negates. So Shruti negates everything. And what everything? Sarvam Vyakhyatam. Whatever has been said before, Shruti negates. Sarvam Vyakhyatam. Whatever has earlier been stated, Shruti negates. How? Eshana iti. Sa eshana iti. Not this, not this. By using the statements, not this, not this. And therefore, yataha ajam prakashate. Therefore, the ajam, the unborn atma, prakashate, is revealed. So, remember that Upanishad cannot directly reveal Brahman as an object, because we saw that directly revealing something means there is duality. There is a subject who is seeing the object, The problem here is that subject is Brahman, and therefore the subject and object are the same. Subject is you, Brahman. You cannot see yourself. Therefore, aprameyam. Brahman is not subject to being recognized as an object. It is the eternal subject. And therefore, indirect method is used. Now, the reference here is to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where it says that Brahman has got the attributes of the entire creation, which means that Jagat is only a form of Brahman. So, there's a lot of, there are about 5 mantras where Jagat is described, right? And then the Upanishad says, Sa Esha Neti Neti Iti. So, this particular chapter is called Murta Amurta Brahmana. Okay, so the first Esha Na Iti Na Iti Iti. If you break it up, Sa Esha Neti Neti Iti, which comes to Sa Esha Na Iti Na Iti Iti. So there are two Nas, Na Iti, two Nas. So when we come across the particular Upanishad, we'll see that the first Na Iti negates the Murta Prapancha, the visible universe, it negates. The second Na Iti negates the Amurta Prapancha, the invisible universe. And the Vyakta universe and Avyakta universe are the only two which describe the universe. The universe can either be visible or not be visible. By negating both, Shruti is saying the entire creation is negated. Right? And here, the Upanishad doesn't say anything more. It simply says the entire creation negated and leaves it at that. So we have to extract Brahman from this statement. This particular statement doesn't talk about Brahman. It just says that whole creation is negated. How do you arrive at Brahman from the statement? We have to go back to Trikale Tishtati iti Sat. What is Satyam can never be negated. And therefore, Shruti says that entire visible and invisible universe have been negated. It means that entire Amurta Prapancha is Mithya. Then, how do you know what is Satyam? We all know, at least by now we all know, that no Mithya can exist without the substratum, the Adhishthanam. And because the universe, both in visible form and invisible form, has been negated by Shruti, there has to be a substratum for that. What is the substratum? What is the Adhishthanam? Since all objects, the whole universe have been negated, there is only one thing remaining. What is that? The observer and the observed. The entire observed has been negated. What remains is the observer, the jiva only. Okay. Now, in this jiva also, so here we are looking at the RC, the jiva. In the jiva also, there are two things, the object and the subject. What are the objects in the jiva? All the koshas, right? So I come to the Annamaya kosha and I ask, is this Annamaya kosha me, the subject, or is it something which I'm experiencing? If I'm experiencing it, it is an object. And I come to the conclusion that, yes, Annamaya kosha is an object, and therefore it cannot be me, and I have to reject it. Okay, in the same way, we go through all the koshas. We have seen this analysis in one Upanishad, Pancha Kosha Viveka Upanishad. We have seen the analysis. Which Upanishad was that?
Taittiriya.
Taittiriya Upanishad, right? So you come from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then you come to Anandamaya Kosha. In Anandamaya Kosha, there might be a slight confusion. But if you look at it, there is an objectivity in the Anandamaya Kosha also. In fact, there are two forms of the objectivity. What is it? What are they? The form of the pleasure which you enjoy, which is in three thoughts: Priya, Moda, Pramoda. These three thoughts are the basis for all experiential pleasures. That is there in the Anandamaya Kosha. And that is there during the three avasthas. Okay, Anandamaya Kosha you can divide it into three avasthas. One is your Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. So in Jagrat and Swapna, there is experiential pleasure which you will find in the form of Priya, Moda, Pramoda Vrittis, thoughts. During Sushupti Avastha, the idea is I don't know anything, total blankness. But you have to ask yourself, who is the one who knows that there was total blankness? And therefore, you have to arrive at you as being different from all these koshas. All the five koshas are different. Whether thoughts are there or thoughts are not there, you are different from the koshas. You are the witness of not only the thoughts, you are the witness of the absence of thoughts also. Right? So in this Karika, what is the focus? Shruti says the visible and the invisible universe, they are not real, they are unreal. So as far as we are concerned, what is the invisible universe for us? All the intangibles, doubts, happiness, sorrow, etc. Right? So you have to negate that because that is not you. And therefore, Shruti is saying here, Brahman is not a karanam at all. By negating every specific object in creation, how? By using this technique of neti neti. Right? And I told you, in this Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in this, I think the second chapter, the first five mantras, they are detailing creation. And the sixth mantra negates the whole creation. So the first five mantras are adhyaropa, superimposition, to indicate what is the superimposition for? To indicate that the world is experienced. It appears before you, it is experienced by you, it has utility for you, you can transact in that world. First five mantras introduce the world for that purpose. Then the sixth mantra negates the world, not to negate the appearance or the experience of the world, but to negate the satyatvam of that appearance. It is a mithya universe only, right? And when Shruti is saying all this, what is it asking us to do? It's asking us to ask ourselves, if everything I see and experience is mithya, what exactly is the satyam? And therefore it says the whole amurta murta prapancha is negated. When all the observed objects have been negated, what remains has to be the observer alone. That observer alone is satyam. Therefore, the conclusion is that I, Sakshi Chaitanyam, I alone am Satyam. Right? And Shankara writes in his commentary, Punaha Punaha Shrutihi. This Shruti Vakyam is repeated again and again and again. In fact, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there are five places where this idea is repeated. That there is a creation, creation negated. So first creation is presented, then negated. Therefore, obviously, Shruti is considering that Atma is not an object which can be negated, right? And therefore, it uses the Neti Neti method again and again and again to negate the Satyatvam of Anatma. And therefore, by such statements, what is the idea being conveyed? Everything in creation which is known, knowable, an object of the intellect, of the intellect, can all be negated. Right? And the important word here is agrahyam. Agrahyam means cannot be grasped. And there are two meanings which we can give, which Shankara mentions in his commentary. He says one meaning is agrahyam means that which cannot be grasped. The word is, important word is cannot. That which it is not possible to grasp. When that meaning is taken, agrahyam has to be taken as Atma cannot be grasped as an object. Atma is aprameya. But Shankara says you can have another meaning also. Instead of saying which cannot be grasped, you can say it should not be grasped. You see the logic, you see the fineness of the argument. One cannot be grasped and one should not be grasped. What is the logic? The one which cannot be grasped is Atma, because that it is nature, it is you yourself. How can you grasp yourself? What should not be grasped is what? It's a simple question. There are only two things in this world. One is Atma, which cannot be grasped. And the other is what is there apart from Atma, which should not be grasped. What is that?
Anatma.
Anatma should not be grasped. So this is an indicator for your nididhyasana, meditation. You can either meditate on the Atma, and the meditation has to be in terms of all that we have learned, that I am the subject, I cannot be taken as an object, and I am Satyam. The other way is to meditate on Anatma and take it as it is Mithya, therefore I should not hold on to it. And actually speaking, this, the Anatma, Atma, the argument, we can think of it in terms of having gone to the airport, right? And while waiting for the flight, I ask for coffee, right? I go and buy a cup of coffee. This coffee I get in what? In a disposable cup. Once I consume the coffee, what do I do with the cup? I throw it away.
Dispositive.
Right. So the anatma is the disposable cup in which is the atma which you consume. Remember that by itself coffee you can't get because you need the cup to hold the coffee. By itself atma you cannot understand because you need the anatma to understand the atma. But having understood the atma as yourself, you should promptly dispose of the cup which held the atma. Right? So there are many statements in Upanishad which talk about anatma, and that is what the idea is, that all these statements, the value for those statements arises only because of the fact that without those statements, atma cannot be understood. And therefore you should not take the cup for the coffee. That is what is being said over here. Okay. Any questions? Been heavy, yeah? Again.
Mind is super saturated.
Yeah. But this is a very beautiful, Upanishad, especially the Karikas. Once we are finished, you will be all ready to go into, other Upanishads which are okay, but not nowhere as heavy as this. With this sixth Upanishad, for all practical purposes, you will be all jnanis. The rest is only polish. Okay. So with this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam
Purnamidam
Purnat
Purnamudachyate
Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya Purnam
Purnamadaya
Eva Vashishyate
Purnamevavashishyate
Om Shanti
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti.
Shanti Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om.
Thank you.
Michelle,
Yes,
thank
I am.
you. Thank you.